Hello and welcome to WRX. My name is Waze, and today it is Thanksgiving. And if you're watching this video, chances are your Thanksgiving party is maybe not quite as fun because this is actually going to go out somewhere around 5:30 or 6 p.m. CST. Today is the day of thanks, and I wanted to just take some time and actually be thankful for what I have and explain to you guys, if you're still on the fence about getting this car, a couple of reasons why you should. Now, this car has been out for over a year now, and a lot of things have been said. Some are subjective and some are objective. We'll get the subjective stuff out of the way. Obviously, the styling is still, to this day, something that a lot of us deal with. Constantly, people are saying it looks like a Civic, it looks like this, but honestly, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you see this on the road, you know that it is something you haven't really seen before, regardless of what you think that it probably looks like. All the people that still complain about the bumper, it's just bumpers. You know, JD Muscle is actually going to be coming out with a bumper real soon. We'll fix that, and you know, maybe those guys can finally get past that. Now, realistically, there are a lot of fantastic objective reasons why this is a good purchase for you, and I want to start out by talking about the engine. Now, the engine is definitely a big reason why you would want to get this vehicle over any other WRX. And I'm not going to talk about the STI because this is just WRX to WRX. This wasn't meant to replace an STI. That will probably come in time. Now, even today, I've started seeing different shops offering, I think actually maybe only one or two shops offering a swap of the FA20 into a VA WRX because it just kind of makes sense. I mean, there's no reason to put an FA20 back in when you could just put an FA24 in there as well. Now, when it first came out, everybody claimed 271 horsepower, 268 pound-foot of torque, but the truth is a little less, actually it's more confusing because just 15 minutes ago I was having a conversation with somebody asking me, you know, well, if your car dynoed at 260 wheel horsepower, how the hell is it 271 advertised? Because it's not 271 to the crank and it's not 271 to the wheels. What the hell is it? To be honest, I have no idea. I really don't know. But the FA24 actually originally debuted in the Ascent, I think in 2019, and it was actually a little bit more horsepower. No, I think it was a little bit less horsepower, a little bit more torque. I think it was like 260 horsepower and 277 pound-foot of torque. And it's been chugging along in the Ascent for now, like the last 3 years, doing absolutely fantastic. The Outback XT actually ended up getting it as well in 2020. And I don't know the exact date that it ended up in the Legacy, but the Legacy has it as well. So like most of the cars on Subaru's lineup are starting to get the FA24 because it is newer. Obviously, Donut Media actually put this out when it first came out. It does have Beehive valve springs on there. The rods are a little bit thicker. The increased torque for this car does make the stock tune feel a lot better, especially compared to the VA WRX, because the VA WRX was kind of torquey early on, but you missed out on a lot of the power. So the tune is good, the engine is good. If the only thing that's keeping you back from getting this car is you think that it's just as slow as the VA WRX, I promise you that is not the case. So the engine out of the way, the next, Subaru did move over to the Subaru Global platform, and that did bring some changes to the chassis. And this is something that I experienced multiple times because I actually had a 2021 WRX before this. And I took it to the track, I took it to autocross, and it was a great feeling car. But there were things that car didn't do, which is rotate properly. And by rotate properly, I mean there were some times where, yeah, I know that there's, you know, like people always talk about understeer and all-wheel drive, but really there's the whole slow in, fast out. But there was times where I felt like I'm turning the car and it was kind of fighting. And I can say this is a completely different beast. Something that the old Golfs and actually even newer Golfs and Audis are known for is lift-off oversteer, which is such a fun thing to have in a car. Even though this is an all-wheel drive car, because of the way how stiff the chassis is and all the changes they made to the suspension, and I'm going to be talking about the stock suspension here because I am on coilovers, but even with the way the suspension was, what was crazy about this is as soon as, especially on the autocross, when I was on autocross, as soon as I turned the wheel and gave a little bit gas, but I let go of the gas and turned it a little bit more, the rear end actually stepped out a bit. Not going to say like a rear-wheel drive car, but it gave you the characteristics of being able to slide it and rotate it a little bit more. Now, as soon as it slid a bit, you slammed on that gas, now you're facing in the right direction that you want to go, that is something I have never experienced in an all-wheel drive car, which is just it's something to talk about, you know, that it feels different. The car rides a little bit smoother because of that chassis, but I can't say that this suspension was that much softer than the V8 WRX. I'd say it was definitely softer than the 15 to 17 WRX, but the 18 to 21, the suspension was changed to make it a little bit softer, and I think this is actually right in the middle of those two. So if you've driven any portion of the V8 WRX, you will like this. Now, obviously the people that say that the whole ride is softer in general, they're trying to compare it to an STI, and that's still, it's not a fair comparison. I know I like to do it for the speed, just to showcase like how much better the transmission and the engine is, or in this case, just the engine, but you know, it was never meant to compete with the STI. So if you look at it from apples to apples, which is WRX to WRX, it is really soft, or softer than some WRXs and stiffer than other which I think it found a really good medium balance between the two. So as much as people want to talk about the interior, I think it's still actually really good. The infotainment system does a fairly good job of giving me all the information that I'm looking for. And even though the dash hasn't really changed a whole lot, I'm not really too upset about it. I do know that a lot of people aren't really happy with the fact that the triple display is no longer on top of the dash. That's something that one of my VA buddies actually told me about because he finds it a little bit unique. And I think that part is really cool, but just having your boost gauge right in the center of where you're normally looking when you're driving, I think that is a much better option, because like if you're driving this way, you're constantly having to look to your right to see where it is. Here it's kind of in your natural eye line, which, you know, it's a picky thing, but just something that I feel like I kind of liked it. I like it better than in the dash. Overall, what I'm kind of impressed about is the interior. Of course, you know, it is still a Subaru, and for a Subaru, it is considerably better. The car obviously is a little bit bigger, and so you have more leg room. I feel like I have a lot more headroom than I did. Even though I did have a sunroof, I didn't really feel like I lost a lot of space with the sunroof being in this car. What I did notice was when I had my helmet on, that's where the biggest change, that's where I felt the biggest change. And of course, like, I know that they've added some little flourishes here or there to kind of make the interior look a little bit more premium, which I think was a good call, because now remember, this is still, especially if you're getting in a base, you know, this is a $30,000 car. Now, another compelling feature that isn't specifically a feature that Subaru maybe chose on purpose is the price. If you really think about it, a base will still get you, I think it's gonna cost you like right at $31,000. Now, you have a lot of options for cars in that market. You've got your Elantra N, which, hate it or love it, it exists. Civic Si, and your Golf GTI. Now, there may be a couple of other options if you're a family person, like maybe a Mazda Speed 3, because it is a turbo all-wheel drive car, but it only comes in an automatic. This gives you 4-wheel drives, 4 doors, 6-speed shifter, turbocharged. I mean, you're getting a lot of car for that kind of money. And as of right now, there is no other car that gives you all of those features for $30,000. And that's a hill that I am willing to die on. Like, what are your other options? You could get an Audi, but that's far more expensive. You can get a Golf R, also far more expensive. You can try to get a GR Corolla. You probably won't be able to, and still it starts at 36, right? And the version you probably want is the 37 one with the torsion limited slips. So you don't have, like, realistically, you don't have a lot of options. These, thankfully, all of the reviewers hated them so much and the internet hated it so much that this could have been marked up, but it wasn't. And so we get a car that we can actually buy for MSRP, and some people got it for less than MSRP. So that's another reason to just be happy the fact that we even got this car. You know, even right now, if I had to think, there is nothing else that you can buy, unless of course you look into the used market. But do you really want to buy a used performance car? I don't think so. Now, this part is very important to me, because I think this is the best part about getting a 22 or 23 WRX, is the aftermarket support is absolutely amazing. And for this portion, we're gonna go for a little bit of a drive because I do need gas. Now, a lot of people think that the aftermarket is not that important. And again, if you're looking for this car to be completely stock, it is completely fine for that purpose. It's still a really good car. But the aftermarket support is, as all Subarus have been, it is just incredible. Every day there is a new part launching, you know, whether it's cosmetic or performance. I mean, we have like 7 or 8 different intakes. We have so many different J-pipes. We have so many different parts for this car that it just keeps getting better. And with all the different options that people have for power, you can make different levels of power. I actually just recently made a video on like what parts do you need to make what horsepower. And I think that is definitely a major reason why most people buy a WRX or even an STI or Subarus in general. People buy Subarus because of what they can do with them, whether that's like an Outback or a Crosstrek, or you want to be like an outdoorsy person and go to all these, you know, mud trips and climb the mountains and stuff. Or you get a WRX because you want to have a fun tuner car. Or in some cases, you want a WRX for some off-road driving too, which is completely fine. These are the reasons why we are thankful, I'm thankful that this car exists, because this car, like many WRXs before it, has the ability to fill whichever void you're looking to fill. And, you know, I spent a whole year with this as a tuner car, and it has been so much fun. But next year, I'm going to be changing this into a rally car, or, you know, something more off-road. But that's not going to take away from the fun of the car or the identity of the car. Like, the car still can give you what you want. And what I want sometimes is a little bit of that. And I love that part. It is so much fun. Even stock, the car is a lot of fun, but adding just a little bit more power really changes the way this car behaves. And it behaves in a really fun way. And it is hard for me to not try to get people to tune their WRXs. This definitely, for me, this is the best part. And even though when I had my 21 WRX, it was a lot of fun to mod it and to have it make more power, but compared to that, this feels like a whole other beast. If you haven't seen my video about horsepower, this car right now is making 386 horsepower to the wheels, all 4 of them. And it is a lot of fun. And again, one of the main reasons why I love that this car exists. It is Thanksgiving, so we got to be careful with who might be out watching me, so I don't want to do a whole lot of crazy stuff. But really, when you hear these cars in person, or when you hear them on any one of the YouTube channels that you watch, we've all got modified cars. You got Cody, you've got Joey, you know, even like Tanner's car is modified. Not enough, needs to do more. It just fills my heart with joy, and it makes me ever so thankful that we didn't just lose the WRX altogether at the end of last year. That could have happened. We could have just got nothing. Subaru could have just been like, all right, guys, no STI and no WRX. We're done. VA was the last one. But they didn't. They gave us this, and I know people are slowly coming around to starting to like this car. More and more people are buying them, even in my community. I've seen so many people post that like they bought a 21 or a 22 WRX, and it makes me so happy that they can experience this with me, especially if they go get their car tuned, because I cannot say enough good things about this and this feeling. So with that, that's pretty much everything I gotta tell you guys. There's, I've said it multiple times and I still believe that this is the best WRX that Subaru has ever made. And I know that that is such a subjective thing to say because I do love so many other WRXs, but where we started and where we are is a whole nother place. And honestly, I am so thankful that this car exists. And honestly, obviously, if it didn't exist, this channel wouldn't have meant anything. But even if I didn't have the channel, I still really love this car. And I loved it from the second that I sat in it over a year ago. And I hope you guys feel the same way about your WRXs. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great holiday weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Before you go, if you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hitting that subscribe button costs you guys nothing, and it gains me everything. I try to provide as much entertainment and information as possible, whether you're looking at my racing series, Vehicular Acceleration Testing, or you're looking at Tuner Talk, which is actually a great series for newcomers and veterans. My only goal is to try to make the VB community better, and I can't do that without your help. Thank you.